Welcome to Ochsner North Shore Bariatrics. My name is Dr. Aisel Gridley, and I'm the Director of Bariatrics here on the North Shore for Ochsner. Today we'll be talking about weight loss surgery with emphasis on the options and outcomes available in the field today. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Aisel Gridley. Feel free to call me Ace. I did a fellowship in bariatrics through the University of Texas and did my residency through the Ochsner system. My goal is to help guide you through your weight loss journey. To begin understanding weight loss, we have to define morbid obesity. It is the extra weight that causes or worsens medical problems. To quantify what this extra weight is, we have to use a measurement that levels the playing field for all people. We call this the body mass index. This measurement takes into account your weight and your height to provide a number that helps determine your risk for developing future health problems. For example, a 7-foot tall man that weighs 250 pounds has a BMI of 25, while a 4-foot tall man at that same weight has a BMI of 76. Unfortunately, the higher your BMI is, the worse your chances are for developing medical problems or worsening the ones that you already have. So as you can see, the 4-foot tall person would be much more unhealthy at 250 pounds than the 7-foot tall person. Using your BMI, we classify your health on a scale. A BMI of 20 to 25 is considered ideal. After 30, we start to see an increase in medical problems or negative health effects because of your weight. After 35, we know it's time to start thinking about surgery because the medical problems are starting to enter your life and something must be done to stop them and get healthy. A BMI of 40 is approximately 100 pounds overweight, while a BMI greater than 60 is associated with an increased risk for complication for any procedure that you could undergo. I mentioned earlier that weight can make you sick. You can see by this list that many illnesses are related to your weight. Recently, studies are even finding that there is a risk of cancer related to extra weight. So why does this happen? The diet usually in some form or another causes you to restrict your caloric intake, which is the reason why you end up losing weight. Your body notices that there are less calories coming in and adjusts to this by slowing down your metabolism, something we refer to as a famine response. During this time, you lose weight mainly from muscle and bone, especially if you're not exercising. So why is your metabolism important? It measures how much your energy your body uses from the food that you eat. If your metabolism slows, your body will conserve the food you eat and store it as fat instead of burning it as energy. Once you fall off your diet or even cheat on it for the holidays or whatever, all those extra calories you take in get stored rather than used, especially since your metabolism has been slowed from the dieting. What happens? You end up gaining weight, you get discouraged, and you stop the diet. We refer to this as yo-yo dieting and actually end up in weight gain, not lost. Something else to remember is that your metabolism slows as you age, which makes dieting much harder as well as weight loss. Studies have found that people with a BMI over 35 have a greater than 90% chance of failing to keep weight off without doing a surgical intervention. This means that diets alone just don't work for people with morbid obesity. Let's talk about surgical options. First, we have the gastric bypass, then we have the sleeve gastrectomy, and finally, the laparoscopic adjustable gastric band. We'll start off by talking about the gastric bypass. It works in two ways, restriction and malabsorption. Restriction simply means that the procedure restricts the amount of food that you can eat. This is achieved by making a very small stomach pouch. This pouch is about the size of a thumb and holds less than half an ounce of fluid, or about 15 cc's. This pouch will represent your new stomach and is very small to help you feel full very quickly. The malabsorption part of the procedure involves connecting the small intestine to the pouch in order to bypass a segment of the intestines. Another connection is then created between the intestines and themselves in order to complete the bypass. This new anatomy helps you eat less and makes your body absorb less of what is eaten. The rest of the stomach is then bypassed and stays in place and lives off a separate blood supply. It continues to work in the way that it normally would, except no food will go through it. By rerouting your intestines, interesting things can happen besides restriction and malabsorption. For instance, you can have something called dumping occur. This is a reaction your body has to foods that have large amounts of sugar in them. particularly foods that are dense in sugar like sodas and candy. It feels like a crampy abdominal pain which leads to nausea, flushing, and diarrhea. If you have an episode of dumping after this procedure, you generally only have it once or twice, simply for the reason that you end up identifying and avoiding the food that caused it. Although this can be a very uncomfortable experience, it is appealing to those who have problems controlling their sweet intake, as it provides a negative feedback for eating these. Here's a video of a gastric bypass.
To gain access to the abdominal cavity, small incisions are created on the abdomen. Trocars, which serve as passageways for the surgical instruments, are placed into the incisions. The surgeon examines the abdominal cavity using a laparoscope or video camera. A small stomach pouch is created using a stapling device. This smaller stomach pouch restricts the amount of food that can be eaten before feeling full. The small intestine is separated into two sections. The lower portion of the small intestine is attached to the newly created stomach pouch. This allows food to pass directly into the small intestine, where digestion continues. Bypassing a portion of the small intestine decreases the absorption of calories and nutrients. The upper portion of the small intestine is reconnected to the lower portion of the intestine. The bile and pancreatic fluids from the liver and pancreas allow food to be completely digested.
The next operation we will discuss is the lap band. This is a plastic band that wraps around the top of the stomach, very similar to how a belt wraps around your waist. The purpose of this band is to simply restrict the amount of food you can eat. It is unique in that it has a balloon that stays in contact with your stomach and can be adjusted by a port that stays underneath your skin. The band itself sits around the top of your stomach and then attaches to a tube that connects it to this port that's sitting underneath your skin. The port can then be accessed with a needle and allow the balloon to be adjusted to improve or remove restriction of your stomach. The more restriction, the less you eat. Too much and you can't even drink liquids. Too little and you have no restriction. It is crucial to have the band fit perfectly, and this is done by adjusting it. Adjusting the band requires you to come to the clinic and have the port accessed with a needle. After this, I use an X-ray machine to change the amount of fluid in the band to what appears to be the perfect amount. The band is intended to be a permanent procedure, but it can be removed, making it reversible. Although it can be removed, it should be thought of as a permanent procedure, as removing it would cause you to regain the weight. Also keep in mind that the band will require multiple adjustments and take time to get it to the perfect size. Here's a video of a gastric band.
To gain access to the abdominal cavity, small incisions are created on the abdomen. Trocars, which serve as passageways for the surgical instruments, are placed into the incisions. The surgical instruments are placed through the trocars into the abdominal cavity. The surgeon examines the abdominal cavity using a laparoscope or video camera. In preparation for the band, a tunnel is created behind the stomach. The Realize band is introduced to the abdomen through a trocar. The Realize band is positioned around the upper portion of the stomach and then secured using the locking mechanism. A tube attached to the Realize band will be connected to the injection port. The port is used to adjust the band tightness after surgery. An incision is made on the upper abdomen to insert the Realize injection port beneath the skin. The tube is secured using the locking connector on the port. The injection port and tube are placed beneath the skin. The Realize band does not alter your digestive function. Food consumed passes through the digestive tract in the normal route.